Oh, where to start? Well, I'm from Glasgow in Scotland. Speaking of accents, I'm from Glasgow in Scotland. That's where I grew up. I grew up in a wee village outside Glasgow. And there's so much. Like, where do I even tell? I moved out to Los Angeles when I was in my early 20s to pursue acting and sort of my creative dreams. And I've been out here ever since. I got stuck here, unfortunately. Oh, I hate when that happens. I was quite, I think there was moments when I was a child where I was quite introverted and started from a young age in sort of a drama club just to kind of bring me out of my shell. Mm-hmm. But it's always something I wanted to do, but it's always something that I struggled with because it took a lot of confidence to get up on stage and to do sort of public speaking and for the spotlight to be on you. So it's a craft I've always loved, but it took a long time for me to, I suppose, like make peace with wanting to have the spotlight on me. And so that's something I've kind of always wrestled with. It's certainly a craft that's pushed me out of my comfort zone time and time again, and continues to do so. And so in that way, it keeps me on my toes. And that's something I really love about it. So yeah. All the time. I felt that way, like at the premiere for Arcane. I felt that way. I thought, oh my God, I should be like, when they were like, we're going to get the actors on the red carpet. I was like, oh, I'll just stand over here. I'll just stand over here with like my drink or whatever. They're like, no. It was, yeah, absolutely plagued by imposter syndrome. All the time. I deal with it all the time. I'm not sure that ever really goes away for some people. I don't know. I can't imagine. It's such a core component of who I am that I can't imagine living without it, because I feel like, well, then what's the flip side of that? Is it feeling entitled all the time, or is it not? Is it just feeling comfortable within your position? It seems like a whole spectrum. And it is certainly at this moment in time, but it hasn't always. It's ebbs and flows, and then there's been so many moments, Tony, where I've found myself at a crossroad where my career has not been going well. I've been struggling to get even auditions, never mind jobs, and and there's no joy, right? The career I'm pursuing is bringing me no joy because there's no work. It's just this kind of empty void where I'm like, do I want to do this? Do I still want to do this? Who am I without this? All these kind of existential questions come up in those moments. But the highs are high and the lows are low. Maddie Nolan is a very well-written, multifaceted, complex person in this universe, as are all the characters. I think she's multiple different things, and we see that unfolding throughout throughout the 3 acts of the show. They did not tell me. Now my feeling was that they didn't yet know themselves, but now I'm starting to question that, Tony, because I spoke to one of the writers at the Shrine event in LA. It was like a finale screening for the final act, and he was like, oh, it was so exciting because we knew and you didn't know, and it was so fun to be able to and I was like, wait, I thought we were all discovering it. I thought it was just a decision that was made at some point, but I'm starting to think maybe that was actually part of the plan, or potentially part of the plan all along. But when I got offered the role, I was told that this was going to be a youthful, wide-eyed new enforcer in the scene. She was going to become part of this core strike team, and that she was going to be involved in some kind of entanglement with Kate and kind of ruffle some feathers, and there was going to be a little bit of a hint of a triangle situation emerging. But that's all I knew. I had no idea that she was going to. Well, I didn't even know if the character was going to I think originally they said, oh, she might die, your character. We're thinking of a way to kill her in a spectacular death. And then suddenly it was like, oh, she might die, and also she's like a spy. And I was like, wait, what? And so, and it's funny because I had to really separate my own ego, my own desire, me as Katy, my own desire to be loved. I'm like, I want to play characters that everyone adores, and I want to be liked, and I want Maddie to be liked because Maddie's an extension of me, and I poured so much of myself into this character. But also the sort of the artist in me and the voice actor in me was like, this is really interesting as a character arc. This is actually way more interesting than if it had been all nicey and one note. Like, and so I was able to separate those two things. And then I was like, wahaha, I'm ready to lean into this chaos. All right. It was a while. So this spanned over, my recording sessions spanned over like 4 years. And so I want to say it might have been about a couple of years in or something after I got offered the role that I heard that potentially they were going to, and I actually think when I recorded that final section and that final line, ouch, I think that's when I really understood the picture, how the picture was playing out, and what and what was and how that actually was going to unfold. I think that was my first moment of discovering that, and it was pretty shocking, you know. I mean, and amazing to see on the page, 1,000 times more amazing to then be sitting in the audience watching it at the shrine and watching it unfold, really, you know, as a complete piece for the first time, and really understanding the impact of that moment, and hearing it around me, and deafening screams and cheers and all kinds. That was really spectacular. That was wild. Okay, so I only discovered this a few days ago. I missed it in the screening because I think there was just so much going on with the noise and the cheering and the screaming, and I was kind of covering my face. I was like, I can't bear it, my baby, and the whole thing. And then I missed that flash, and then I saw some banter about it on Twitter, and I was like, wait, what? And at first I thought it was her collar, and I know others thought it was her collar, but of course nothing in Arcane is an accident, and every frame has been animated, painted really meticulously. So I'm like, no, this is meant to look like a Cheshire Cat grin, and it was so shockingly sinister, and actually unlocked a whole other potentially dark dimension to this character that I hadn't even considered. Part, you know, one of the many multi-dimensional kind of aspects of genius within the show, for them to do that just with a single frame to potentially allude to so much was really amazing. But when I saw that, I was like, this is gonna haunt my dreams for the rest of my life. This is absolutely terrifying.
And it's you.
I'm glad I wasn't, because I bet no matter how good you are, how good you think you are as an actor, I bet something in my performance would have colored that scene with something else that was not wide-eyed optimism and admiration, which is exactly what they were going for. Although I did see like a TikTok sort of edit where someone edited it to more sinister music, and it actually, well, again, the power of music, as we know from the you know, another layer of genius in the show. But yeah, I did my voice against that kind of darker sort of music and score. I was like, oh, she does seem a little evil here. Huh. Yeah. Interesting. But that's not how I was playing, you know, that wasn't my intention. Certainly not, you know. Yeah, I was asked this in the previous interview, you know, they were chatting about episode 7, the kind of alternate reality episode, and how Maddie would potentially fit into that. I would have loved to have seen Maddie, in the character of Maddie, interwoven into that. I would have loved to have seen another sliding doors kind of aspect to that character. That would have been really exciting, because look, the scene, that final scene we just spoke about with the where she attempts to shoot Caitlin, or she's been tasked with killing Caitlin. I think, maybe I'm biased, I think I saw a glimmer of remorse on her face. I think the animator, it was just for a split second, if you go back and look at that, and coupled with the line that she appreciated Kate's warmth, I'm like, I would have loved to have explored that more, you know, because I would have loved those human aspects of Maddie. I would have loved to have seen more interactions with Vi, and I would have certainly loved to have seen her become more central in a sort of a, I think originally it was meant to be more of a triangle, right? I think that was going to be explored a little more originally. Sure. I would love to have seen that situation play out, because I think it would have made for really interesting television, and I think it would have had its place in heightening raising the stakes and heightening the emotion and creating a little bit more drama. And so, yeah, I would have loved to have seen more of those kind of intimate human moments. And I do wonder how that would have then played with the way things panned out in Act 3. Like, would it have actually hampered that arc, or would it have served it in some way? Would it have changed when the ending played out, would the audience have known Maddie more, so they would have had much more empathy, and there would have been more division, would there have been more devastation when she was murdered? I don't know, but it's hard for me to tell. But certainly I certainly wish there had been more of Maddie, for sure, and certainly in her relationship with Kate and relationship with Vi, that would have been really amazing. Credit to their genius, it definitely landed from the reaction in the audience. It definitely, which surprised me. Again, I didn't expect the reaction to those shifting moments. And actually, I think, Tony, because remember that some of the show had been leaked earlier in the year, and people had seen those leaks of the first 6 episodes. And having seen the leaks and understanding that Maddie was going to become a kind of bit of a presence, an intimate presence in Kate's life, there was so many spoilers on the internet from that. You're going to hate the character. There was such a hype around hate, and I was like, oh, well, they don't know the half of it, right? Like, that became such a focus. Right. Like, and so even, even after the first episode, there was a lot of talk online, like people have seen the leaks and they say we're going to hate her or whatever. And it was like, oh, they think they're going to hate me because I intruded on this very sacred relationship between Vi and Kate, but they have no idea what's to come. And I just think it was just crafted. The genius with which it was crafted is still amazes me, actually. It wasn't hard, but I don't think the interviewers were trying to trip me up or anything, but there was definitely they definitely mentioned, there's talk that Maddie could be evil, and I was like, oh, interesting, sort of, oh yeah, I said, oh, imagine that, yeah, interesting, yeah, and so just trying to sort of, I feel like my face and my eyes always betray me, Tony. I feel like the truth lives here. I'm like they're like peering into my soul, and they can see that I'm lying. It didn't give me too much anxiety, but there was things that I knew, obviously, like, the fate of Jinx, for example, that there was a couple of like, Jinx is my favorite, but I feel like she might die, almost wanting to, and I'm like, are they looking to read something on my expression? That's
looking for recognition in some sort of
exactly. So that was a bit tricky. And then I feel like I was being a little overly careful with my answers, because I didn't want to lie, and I didn't want to panic and just kind of make up a lie about, but I also, wanted to be a little bit elusive, but also wanted to give them a decent interview, or like still being open, and we can have all kinds of discussions. So that was a bit of a tricky balance, to be honest. And actually, I heard from a couple of those interviewers, like, not how dare you, but they were like, you, and I was like, sorry, like they were shaking their fists, and I was like, sorry. Well, nobody reached out to me. I reached out to them, actually. Because I have gotten to know the team behind the show over the course of years, and they have become quite friendly with a lot of them. So I understand the depth of their love and passion for this project. And I knew when I saw the leak had come out, I knew that it would leave them devastated, because it's all of their hard work spanning many years, and they were devastated. I think a lot of them were saying there was a lot of panic at Riot. I think there was a lot of tears. I think it was really upsetting, as you can imagine. And so that's all I know. I know it was deeply upsetting for everyone. It was deeply disappointing for everyone. But I also know that the way that the fans of the show rallied around the show to protect it and block spoilers, and made a choice not to watch the spoilers, really, really moved all of us, and really, really meant a lot to the team at Riot, and spoke wonders about the just the depth and of their connection with the fandom.
Yeah.
And the trust that they've built with the fans. And so that was actually really moving and amazing to see that. The fans saved the day, and they really did, because so many people just didn't engage, and didn't spread and it's sort of just, they were kind of out there, I think, and some people looked at them, but there was no, you know, that was as far I think as it went. It didn't become a catastrophic thing, thank God.